Welcome to Nymastories, where powerful tales come to life. In today's story, a billionaire's daughter makes one devastating mistake, then tries to buy silence with $1 million bribe. But when a single father finds the courage to speak up, the truth breaks free and lives are forever changed. This is The Silence Price, a story of conscience, courage, and redemption. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Nymastories for more emotional and dramatic tales that touch the heart. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new release. Now let's begin the story. Los Angeles never sleeps. Neon lights stretched across Sunset Boulevard, flickering like sirens luring restless souls into one more night of escape. Marcus Ellis sat inside a sleek black Cadillac Escalade, eyes fixed on the dashboard clock. It was nearly 2 a.m., and Emily Bradford had yet to emerge from Lavish, the exclusive nightclub reserved for the rich, famous, and reckless. Marcus had been the Bradford's private driver for 3 years. Quiet, punctual, never asking questions. A former soldier back from deployment in Afghanistan, he wore discipline and calm like armor. But beneath it all, he was just a man trying to make ends meet, caring for his ailing mother who needed dialysis to stay alive. The club's glass doors swung open. Bass-heavy music blasted out, loud enough to shake the sidewalk. Emily stumbled into view, clinging to the arm of a young male model. Her dress was short, her heels high, and her gaze hazy from a cocktail of alcohol and party drugs. Spotting Marcus, she shoved the boy away. "Get lost," she muttered to the guy, then staggered toward the car. Marcus quickly stepped out and opened the back door. "Miss Emily, let me take you home." She shook her head and slid into the front passenger seat. "I'm sick of the back seat. Tonight, I want to drive." Marcus frowned. "I don't think that's a good idea. You've been drinking. Drinks, pills, and a couple hits of Molly," she said with a chuckle. "Come on. I'm Daniel Bradford's daughter. I could drive my own damn car." Before Marcus could stop her, she grabbed the keys and slipped behind the wheel. She cranked up the music and hit the gas, peeling away into the night like a storm on wheels. Marcus had no choice but to sit beside her, hands gripping the door handle. He couldn't force her to stop. She was the boss, and could have him fired in a snap. The Cadillac sped through the quiet streets. Traffic lights were just colorful suggestions. Emily laughed wildly each time she ran a red, sending a chill down Marcus's spine. Then it happened. At a dimly lit intersection, a woman stepped off the curb from a bus stop. She wore hospital scrubs, clutching a brown paper bag, eyes fixed on her phone. She didn't have time to react. The car struck her with a brutal thud. Her body flung into the air, crashing onto the sidewalk like a broken doll. The car swerved, tires screeching, before jerking to a halt against the curb. Marcus was stunned. He flung open his door and sprinted toward the fallen woman. Blood spilled from her head. Her paper bag had burst open. Inside were a sandwich and a worn-out teddy bear. "Rachel," he muttered. Her name was on the hospital ID tag around her neck. She was one of the night janitors at the same hospital where Marcus had taken his mother. Marcus reached for his phone to call 911. But before he could press the button, Emily snatched it from his hand and smashed it on the pavement. "No," she screamed. "No one can know about this. I can't get arrested. My dad will kill me. The media will crucify me. You hit someone and fled. That's a felony, Emily. I'll pay. Whatever it takes." She opened the car's trunk and pulled out a suitcase. $1 million. "Right now. Just keep your mouth shut. Let me drive away. No one saw anything. There aren't any cameras. I checked." Marcus stared at the suitcase. Cash. Stacks of crisp $100 bills. The temptation hit like a punch. $1 million, enough to save his mother, to change their lives. But the image of the bleeding woman and that teddy bear twisted his gut. "She has a child," he said quietly. Emily froze, then spoke coldly. "Not your problem. Take the money, or I'll call my lawyer and say you were driving." In that moment, Marcus realized this was the price of silence. And he, a man who'd faced death in war, now faced the battle within his own conscience. Sirens wailed in the distance. Emily panicked. "I'll come back later. Don't say a word. Not one word." She climbed into the driver's seat and sped off, disappearing into the night. leaving Marcus alone with a suitcase of money and a woman bleeding out on the sidewalk. He clenched his jaw, knelt down, and placed a hand on the woman's chest, searching for a faint heartbeat. As the strobing lights of the ambulance drew closer, Marcus knew this night had just changed at least 3 lives forever, and he stood at the heart of it all. The sun rose slowly over Los Angeles, casting a dull orange light on the glass towers of downtown. For most of the city, it was just another morning. But for Marcus Ellis, it was the morning after a nightmare. He hadn't slept. The suitcase lay untouched on the kitchen table of his small one-bedroom apartment in Inglewood. Its polished leather gleamed under the fluorescent bulb. Marcus had placed a kitchen towel over it, but the money might as well have been glowing. He stood by the window, coffee in hand, staring at the peeling paint on the neighboring building. 1,000 thoughts surged through his mind. $1 million. The number circled like a vulture. His mother's medical bills, years of back rent, the broken water heater he couldn't afford to fix. He had spent the past year choosing between medicine and food. This money could change everything. But at what cost? On the news, no mention of the accident yet. Emily was right. No cameras, no witnesses. For now, he glanced at the table again. His phone was in pieces, crushed from the night before. He needed a new one. He needed to report what happened. But he hadn't. Not yet. He sat down, head in his hands. I froze, he admitted to himself. I took the money. I didn't call the cops. I just stood there. And that woman, Rachel Moore. He had visited the hospital again early that morning, keeping his cap low and his jacket zipped. The nurse at the front desk mentioned a hit-and-run victim brought in late last night. Still unconscious, she said. Young, early 30s. Single mom. Works here too, poor thing. Marcus had spotted a small boy in the waiting room, hugging a stuffed bear and dozing off on a vinyl chair. Liam, the nurse said softly, noticing Marcus looking. That's her son. Marcus stared at the boy, his stomach knotting. The bear. The sandwich. The blood. The boy looked up, rubbing his eyes. Are you waiting for someone? Marcus asked gently, keeping his voice low. That's my mom, Liam said. She's just sleeping. She's going to wake up. Marcus couldn't speak. The words got stuck in his throat. He had nodded, then walked away before his emotions gave him away. And now, back in his apartment, he felt the full weight of what he was carrying. Not just the suitcase, but the silence. He opened his laptop and typed Anonymous Crime Report LAPD into the search bar. His finger hovered over the trackpad. Just a few clicks. That was all it took. But the doorbell rang. He jumped. Marcus stood, cautiously approaching the door. Through the peephole, he saw a woman in a trench coat, a badge clipped to her belt. Detective Carla Hayes, she said aloud. LAPD. I'd like to ask you a few questions, Mr. Ellis. His heart stopped. He opened the door. Morning, she said, polite but firm. Can I come in? He hesitated, then stepped aside. Carla took in the apartment. Small, tidy, but tense. She noticed the suitcase on the table, covered. Didn't mention it. You drove for the Bradfords last night, correct? Yes, Marcus replied cautiously. Emily Bradford was seen leaving Lavish around 1:45 a.m. with you. He nodded. Witness says you both left in the same car. He hesitated. She insisted on driving. Did you argue? No. I tried to stop her, but he exhaled. Carla narrowed her eyes slightly. Were there any incidents on the way home? Marcus's jaw clenched. I just want to make sure no one else was hurt, she added. There was a hit and run reported nearby. Victims in a coma. Woman named Rachel Moore. Sound familiar? Marcus looked away. No, I don't know her. Carla studied his face. Funny thing is, we found tire marks near the scene. High-end SUV, and a part of a broken phone. She paused, waiting. Marcus didn't speak. Keine Zeit. Look, I get it. Rich people can cover tracks. But someone knows something. Maybe it's you. Marcus stayed silent. Carla stood. Here's my card. If you think of anything at all, call me. She left. Marcus stood still for a long time after the door shut. That night, he returned to the hospital. He found Liam sitting in the same chair, now coloring in a notebook. The bear sat beside him. Hey, Marcus said softly. The boy looked up. I brought you something, he said, handing over a new toy car. Thought you might like it. Liam smiled faintly. Thanks. Your mom. She's very brave. Liam nodded. She always comes home after work. But this time she didn't. Marcus swallowed. I think she saved someone's life once, Liam added. Mom said that even if you don't wear a cape, you can still be a hero. Marcus couldn't take it anymore. He walked to the hallway, leaned against the wall, and pulled out Detective Carla's card. His fingers trembled as he dialed. Detective Hayes, came her voice. Marcus whispered, I need to talk. About the accident. Silence. Then, calmly, I'm listening. And with that, the dam inside Marcus broke. The truth poured out. Not all of it, not yet, but enough to take the first step. The money still sat in his apartment. But he had chosen a different kind of wealth now. His conscience. The city buzzed with its usual rhythm. Honking cars, distant sirens, and the shuffle of feet on crowded sidewalks. But for Marcus Ellis, the world felt suspended, as if time moved differently now that he'd broken the silence. His confession to Detective Hayes wasn't a full report. It was a crack in the wall. He hadn't named Emily. Not yet. But he told her about the accident, the time, the victim, the fact that he hadn't been the driver. He admitted to being in the car. He admitted he froze. And most importantly, he admitted he had evidence. The suitcase was still in his apartment. But Marcus knew money couldn't wash away guilt. It only made it harder to breathe. At Westlake General Hospital, Rachel Moore remained unconscious. Machines beeped steadily around her, tracking a heartbeat that flickered between this world and the next. Marcus stood outside her room that evening, a paper bag in hand. Inside were groceries, milk, cereal, a jar of strawberry jam. He had tracked down a nurse who agreed to pass them along for Liam. He didn't dare go in. Rachel's face was bruised, her head bandaged. Tubes ran from her arms, and a respirator clicked rhythmically beside her. She looked nothing like the woman he remembered from the hospital halls. Always smiling despite pushing heavy carts and mopping endless corridors. A survivor. Marcus walked back into the waiting room and spotted Liam sitting alone at a small children's table, coloring quietly. The toy car Marcus had given him sat near the crayons. Hey there, Marcus said, gently lowering himself into the seat across from the boy. Liam looked up and gave a shy smile. You again, he said. I just wanted to check on your mom. How's she doing today? The boy's smile faded. They said she's still asleep. Marcus nodded. She's resting and healing. Liam picked up a red crayon and started outlining a fire truck. Are you her friend? Marcus hesitated. Sort of. I work nearby. I met her once. She helped my mom in the hospital. Your mom's a good person. Liam nodded seriously. She says we don't need much to be happy. Just each other. That hit Marcus like a punch. The boy turned to him. Are you alone? Marcus blinked. What do you mean? Like, do you have someone to go home to? Marcus smiled weakly. I have my mom. She's sick, though, but she's still around. Liam considered that. You should tell her you love her. Ido. Every day. The boy grinned and went back to coloring. Marcus watched him for a moment, then stood. I'll see you soon, okay? Okay. He walked out of the hospital with his fists clenched. This couldn't go on. Emily was living her life like nothing happened. Her silence had bought her time, but not redemption. Back in Beverly Hills, Emily Bradford was a trending name again. This time not for the accident, but for her latest social media stunt. She'd posted a video of herself lounging on a yacht, sipping champagne, and tossing $100 bills overboard with the caption, Money can't buy class, but can buy silence. Marcus saw the clip through a friend's forwarded message. He slammed his laptop shut. It was more than arrogance. It was mockery. Mockery of the pain she'd caused. Of Rachel. Of Liam. Of him. The next morning, Marcus called Detective Hayes again. I want to give you something, he said. She arrived at his apartment within an hour. No uniform. Just a dark coat, keen eyes, and a quiet readiness. He led her to the table and pulled back the towel covering the suitcase. She raised an eyebrow. Well, that's not subtle. 1 million. She gave it to me to keep quiet. Ooh. Marcus paused. His hands were sweating. He was about to cross a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Emily Bradford. Hayes didn't flinch. Are you sure? Yes. She was driving. I tried to stop her. After the crash, she panicked. She gave me the money and drove off. Told me to stay silent. Why come forward now? He exhaled. Because I met the woman she hit. Her son. Because I've been a coward for too long. Hayes looked at him carefully, then reached for a notebook. We'll need a full statement. And I'll need you to hold on to this suitcase for now. It's evidence. Marcus nodded. Hayes scribbled something. Do you know if she tampered with the car? Yes. She had it detailed. I think she paid someone off at a private garage. We'll find it. As she packed her things to leave, she turned back. This won't be easy. The Bradfords are powerful. I know, Marcus said. But the truth is more powerful. That night, Marcus returned to the hospital with another small bag of groceries. This time, as he passed the nurse's station, she smiled. She woke up, the nurse said. Marcus froze. Rachel, she's weak but conscious. Doctor says she's stable. She asked for her son. Liam was already inside, hugging his mother gently, careful not to disturb the wires. Rachel held him like he was the only thing anchoring her to the earth. Marcus stayed outside, watching. After a few moments, Rachel noticed him through the glass. Their eyes met. She didn't recognize him. He nodded once, then turned to leave. But a nurse called after him. Wait, she's asking for you. He paused, then slowly walked in. Rachel's voice was hoarse. You're the man who brought Liam food, aren't you? Marcus nodded. I just wanted to help. Her eyes were tired, but clear. You were there, weren't you? The accident. He looked down. Yes. Tears welled in her eyes, but not from anger. You stayed. I'm sorry I didn't do more, he whispered. You did enough, she said, gripping his hand. You cared. For Marcus, that moment was worth more than all the money in the world. Because for the first time in days, he felt something he thought he'd lost forever. Peace. The Los Angeles morning air was unusually crisp, as if something had shifted beneath the surface of the city. Detective Carla Hayes stood outside a discreet private garage in West Hollywood. Her boots crunched on the gravel as she approached the side office. The owner, a man in his 50s with a shaved head and a twitchy demeanor, eyed her badge warily. LAPD, she said. You recently serviced a black Cadillac Escalade, registered under Bradford Enterprises. He hesitated. We get a lot of high-profile clients. I need a warrant. Hayes reached into her coat and handed him one. Already did. His shoulders slumped. We cleaned the car, he said. Interior detailing. Replaced a cracked headlight. Nothing unusual. No paperwork filed. Hayes noted. Nothing in the logs. I was paid in cash. Extra to keep it off record. I didn't ask questions. Hayes fixed him with a hard stare. You know that vehicle is connected to a felony hit and run, right? He swallowed. I didn't know that. She took a slow step forward. Who brought the car in? He looked away. Was it Emily Bradford? He didn't answer. Hayes leaned in. If you're covering for her, that makes you an accessory. Help me, and I'll work with the DA to keep you out of trouble. After a long pause, he nodded. It was her. Hayes scribbled in her notebook. When? 2 hours after midnight. She showed up alone. Nervous. Told me to fix it fast. Paid me $5 grand on the spot. Did she say anything else? He hesitated. She said, it was just a woman. No one important. Hayes's pen stopped. Her jaw tightened. She stepped outside, her phone already in hand. The pieces were aligning. $1 million hush payment. A rush car cleanup. And now a statement that proved motive and cruelty. This case was no longer just about a crash. It was about entitlement, arrogance, a life that nearly ended, and another trying desperately to avoid consequences. Meanwhile, in a penthouse suite overlooking Beverly Hills, Emily Bradford paced her marble floor barefoot, phone pressed to her ear. I thought this was contained, she hissed. On the other end, her lawyer spoke calmly. There's no formal charge yet, but someone's talking. Who? She snapped. That idiot driver? Silence. Emily flung her phone onto the couch and marched to the minibar. Her fingers trembled as she poured herself a glass of vodka, straight, no ice. Her father hadn't called. Not once. That was worse than yelling. Daniel Bradford didn't waste time on disappointments. And Emily, in his eyes, had always towed that line. Her entire life was built on appearance, exclusive parties, designer labels, magazine covers. She was America's elite. Scandal was a parasite, and now it was crawling up her back. She opened her laptop and scanned the headlines. A few online forums had begun speculating about the hit and run. Anonymous witness claims high-profile socialite involved in crash. Police close in on suspect in Westlake hit and run. Money changed hands, says insider. Emily cursed under her breath. She wasn't ready to be the villain. She had always been the center of attention, but not like this. The whispers were growing louder. At the same time, Marcus stood at the bedside of Rachel Moore. She was improving. The swelling had gone down. Her breathing steadied. And though her body remained fragile, her spirit hadn't dimmed. Liam clung to her hand as they watched cartoons together. Rachel looked at Marcus with gratitude. "You didn't have to come back," she said quietly. "I did," Marcus replied, "because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't." He hadn't told her everything yet. Not about Emily, not about the hush money, but it was coming. The truth was clawing its way to the surface. Rachel gave him a sad smile. "You're carrying something heavy." Marcus nodded. "But it's getting lighter." Just then, the door creaked open. Detective Hayes entered, her eyes sharp as ever. "I need a word," she said, motioning Marcus to follow her outside. In the hallway, she handed him a printed screenshot of a news blog. "Word's out. The press has it, and it's only a matter of time before they connect the dots." Marcus scanned the headline. His stomach turned. "Did she lawyer up?" Hayes nodded. "Of course. Her father's team is already circling the wagons. They'll try to make you look like the scapegoat. I don't care. I've made my peace. You're going to have to go public, Marcus. When this blows up, and it will, you need to be ahead of it." He clenched his jaw. "I will." Hayes gave him a look, equal parts respect and warning. "We're going to issue a warrant soon. If she flees, we'll need witnesses." Marcus stared down the hallway to Rachel's room. "I'm not going anywhere." That night, Emily stood on the balcony of her penthouse, glass in hand, watching the lights of Los Angeles twinkle like lies. She remembered the impact, the sound, the blood. For a second, it had scared her, but only for a second. After that, it had become survival. She had always believed money could fix anything. Silence had a price, and she'd paid it. But something was different this time. The silence wasn't holding. Somewhere in the city, the truth was slipping out, whispered in shadows, carving through the walls of her perfect life. And Emily Bradford was about to find out that not all messes could be mopped up with cash. Some stains never come out. It started with a siren, not the kind that wailed from police cruisers or ambulances, but the kind that echoed through the media, loud, relentless, and impossible to ignore. By noon, Emily Bradford was the #1 trending topic on every platform. Hashtag Bradford hit and run. Hashtag justice for Rachel. Hashtag money can't buy morality. News anchors debated the moral collapse of America's elite. TikTokers dissected every second of Emily's last Instagram post. Bloggers unearthed her past DUI warning from 3 years ago. Even late-night comedians joined in, calling her the next trust fund fugitive. And then came the footage. A dashcam from a parked truck had captured the exact moment of the crash. The quality was grainy, but it was enough. A black Escalade. A woman in hospital scrubs. The impact. The panic. No face was visible, but people knew. At the LAPD's downtown precinct, Detective Carla Hayes watched the footage play on repeat, her arms crossed tightly. "She's done," her partner said from across the room. Hayes didn't smile. "Not yet. She still thinks money's her shield." Just then, the precinct's door opened. Daniel Bradford walked in. Everyone noticed. The billionaire media tycoon, always in tailored suits and flanked by security, had never once set foot in this building. Today, he walked alone. "Detective Hayes," he said. She stood. "Mr. Bradford, I'd like to speak to you in private." They moved into a glass-walled conference room. Bradford sat down, hands folded. He didn't offer small talk. "You have a warrant?" he asked. "Almost. And we have enough to arrest your daughter." Bradford looked tired, older than his polished public image. "Do it." Hayes blinked. "Excuse me? I'm not here to protect her." There was a long silence. "She lied to me," he said. "Told me the car was stolen, that she was home all night. And then I saw the footage." He pulled out a flash drive and slid it across the table. "That's security footage from our garage. It shows her returning alone, 3:17 a.m., driving the Escalade. Hayes stared at him. You're turning her in? I've spent a lifetime building a name. A legacy. I won't let it rot because of her arrogance. She's your daughter. He paused, then looked up. She stopped being my daughter the moment she left a woman to die on the street. Marcus sat alone in his apartment, TV off, phone silent. The world was exploding around him, but he felt calm. For the first time in a week, he could breathe. The money was gone, turned in as evidence. The guilt, while not gone, was lighter, and Rachel was recovering. Still, a piece of him remained restless. His door buzzed. He opened it to find a local journalist, young, polite, and clearly nervous. Mr. Ellis, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm at the Times. I'd love a moment of your time. The world wants to hear your story. Marcus looked at the camera crew behind the man. The blinking red light. The microphone. He hesitated, then nodded. That night, Marcus's interview aired across the country. He didn't speak with anger. He didn't cry. He simply told the truth. I was afraid, he said. I froze. I accepted something I shouldn't have. But I met that woman's son, and it changed everything. He paused. I think people like Emily Bradford believe their lives matter more. That money makes them untouchable. But I've learned something. Silence doesn't protect you. It poisons you. Rachel watched from her hospital bed, Liam asleep beside her. Tears welled in her eyes, but not from pain. From something closer to healing. Emily was arrested the next morning. It was quiet. No sirens, no cuffs in public. Her lawyer had negotiated a cooperative surrender. But when she walked into the police station, paparazzi were waiting. Flashes exploded like bombs. Reporters shouted her name. People booed. Inside the station, Hayes greeted her. Ms. Bradford, she said evenly. You're being charged with felony hit and run, obstruction of justice, and attempted bribery. Emily scoffed. This is absurd. I'm not a criminal. You left a woman in a coma. I panicked. You paid a man to stay silent. I try to fix it. No, Hayes said. You try to bury it. Emily's voice cracked. You think this is going to help anyone? You think prison is justice? Hayes leaned in. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about accountability. Something you've never faced in your life. Emily looked away. And for the first time, she had no comeback. Later that evening, Marcus visited Rachel again. She was sitting up now, looking stronger, color returning to her face. Big day, she said. Yeah, Marcus replied. I wasn't sure how it would feel. And still figuring that out. Rachel smiled. You did the right thing. That's not always easy. Marcus hesitated. I have something for you. He handed her a small envelope. Inside was a check, not from Emily, not hush money, but his own savings. It's not much, he said, but enough for the next few months. Until you're back on your feet. Rachel looked at him, moved. You don't have to do this. I want to. She placed her hand on his. Then thank you for choosing to be better. Outside, the city glowed. A storm had passed, but more would come. Still, in that small room, there was light. There was healing. There was hope. The courthouse loomed like a cathedral of justice, its stone steps flanked by rows of media vans, cameras, and protest signs. Los Angeles hadn't seen a case this electrified in years. Not since the last time a rich heir had tried to dodge the consequences of their privilege. This time, it was Emily Bradford in the defendant's chair. Inside courtroom 17B, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Marble pillars rose around rows of hard wooden benches. Journalists filled every inch. Court sketch artists scrambled for angles. Emily sat beside her lawyer, dressed in a simple gray suit. No makeup, hair tied back. It was a costume of humility, but the sharpness in her eyes betrayed her performance. Judge Harper, a seasoned, no-nonsense woman with decades on the bench, entered. All rise. The trial began. The prosecution laid out the case in methodical order. A night of reckless partying, drugs and alcohol, an unauthorized drive, a hit and run that left a single mother in a coma. Bribery, cover-up, lies. And then they called Marcus Ellis to the stand. He walked slowly, shoulders squared, suit borrowed from a neighbor. The courtroom hushed as he raised his right hand and swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor approached. Mr. Ellis, can you tell us what happened on the night of April 3rd? Marcus nodded, voice steady. Emily Bradford asked me to drive her to lavish nightclub. Around 1:45 a.m., she exited intoxicated and demanded to drive herself. I advised against it, but she took the keys. I got in the passenger seat. I didn't want to leave her alone. And then she drove erratically, fast, ignored red lights. At an intersection near Westlake, she hit a woman crossing the street. The woman fell. Emily panicked. She refused to call for help. Instead, she offered me money to keep quiet. How much money? $1 million. In cash. A murmur rippled through the room. And what did you do with it? I took it. I was scared. But then I met the victim's son, and I couldn't live with the silence. The defense lawyer rose. Mr. Ellis, you admit to taking a bribe. Doesn't that compromise your integrity? I never spent a cent, Marcus said. I turned it in, and I told the truth. The defense pressed harder. But you waited days to speak up. Why? Marcus looked out over the courtroom. Because I was raised to believe rich people always win. That someone like me, black, broke, invisible, doesn't stand a chance. But I learned something from that little boy and his mother. Your voice matters, even when the system tells you it doesn't. Silence followed. Even Emily looked shaken. Rachel Moore took the stand next. She wore a neck brace and moved slowly, but her voice was firm. I woke up 3 days after the accident. My son was asleep beside me. I didn't know who hit me, but I know who saved me. It wasn't the driver. It was Marcus. Did he ever ask for credit? The prosecutor asked. No, Rachel said. He just showed up with groceries, toys, encouragement. He didn't owe me anything, but he gave me everything. Tears shimmered in the jury box. On the 3rd day of the trial, it was Emily's turn to speak. She took the stand, hands clasped in front of her. For the first time, there was no arrogance in her voice, only exhaustion. I was scared, she said. I wasn't thinking. I made terrible choices. I didn't want to go to prison, but I was wrong. The prosecutor raised an eyebrow. Do you regret what happened to Ms. Moore? Well, that you got caught. Emily didn't answer. The courtroom watched in silence. Do you believe you should face prison time for your actions? She looked down. I don't know what I deserve anymore. Closing arguments began. The prosecutor stood before the jury, passion-controlled but clear. This is not about punishment. It's about accountability. About saying that no amount of money, no last name, no connections can shield someone from justice. Rachel Moore could have died. Her son could have been orphaned. And this woman tried to cover it up with a suitcase full of cash. He paused, then pointed to Marcus. But this man stood up. He broke the silence. He chose the harder road. Because of him, a truth was told. Then came the defense. Yes, Emily made mistakes, her lawyer said. But she is young. She is remorseful. And this is not who she is at her core. She needs help, not a cage. The jury was sent to deliberate. Outside, crowds gathered. Protesters held signs that read, "Justice for Rachel," and "In no more buyouts." Emily sat alone, her lawyer whispering. Marcus returned to the bench beside Rachel. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Like I'm about to throw up," Marcus muttered. Rachel chuckled softly. "You're not the one on trial. I feel like I am." "No," she said. "You're the reason this trial happened at all." Hours passed. Then the bailiff entered. "The jury has reached a verdict." Everyone stood. Emily Bradford rose with a blank expression. The foreperson read, "We, the jury, find the defendant, Emily Bradford, guilty of felony hit and run, guilty of obstruction of justice, and guilty of attempted bribery." Gasps echoed through the room. The judge nodded. "Sentencing will be held in 3 weeks. Until then, Ms. Bradford is remanded to custody." Emily didn't cry, didn't speak. She simply turned, wrists placed in cuffs, and was escorted out through the side door. As the doors closed behind her, a weight seemed to lift from the room. Outside, Marcus faced the flashing cameras. A reporter called out, "Marcus, do you feel like justice was served?" He didn't smile. "It's not just about Emily. It's about who we protect and who we ignore. It's about not letting money buy silence anymore." And for the first time, he didn't feel invisible. He felt seen. Spring had come to Los Angeles. The jacaranda trees lining Westlake Avenue bloomed in soft shades of violet, their petals drifting onto the sidewalks like confetti. The city, though noisy and impatient as ever, felt softer today, as if something broken had finally begun to heal. It had been 5 weeks since the trial ended. Emily Bradford remained in custody, awaiting formal sentencing. The media circus had dimmed, but not disappeared. The scandal had made headlines, talk shows, and think pieces. Yet now, the spotlight had shifted away from the heiress and toward the people her actions had tried to bury. People like Rachel Moore. People like Marcus Ellis. On a quiet Saturday morning, Marcus stood outside a modest storefront on Sunset Boulevard. The sign above the door read, "The Lighthouse Project, Community Fund for Hit-and-Run Victims." Inside, volunteers bustled between desks, stacking pamphlets, arranging donated groceries, setting up a small legal help center. Marcus had spent the last month using the media attention to raise over $400,000 for families like Rachel's. People who couldn't afford to wait for justice. Rachel walked beside him, using a cane now, though her strength had improved each day. Liam clutched a juice box in one hand and Marcus's fingers in the other. "You really built this," she said, admiring the front windows painted by local artists. "We built this," Marcus corrected. "You inspired it." Liam gave it a name. Liam nodded proudly. "Because it's like a lighthouse. It helps people not crash." Rachel smiled. "You're not just a driver anymore." "No," Marcus said, "I'm not." He had resigned from the Bradford household the day after the trial. There was no job waiting, no safety net, but there was something else now: purpose and peace. Later that afternoon, they walked through the park together. The same park where Marcus had first seen Liam, asleep on a hospital chair. Now the boy raced ahead, laughing, his arms outstretched like airplane wings. Rachel stopped at a bench, breathing in deeply. "It still hurts sometimes," she said. "Your leg?" "No." The memory. Waking up and not remembering why I was in the hospital. Then seeing Liam's face and knowing something had gone terribly wrong. Marcus sat beside her. "You could have hated me. I wouldn't have blamed you." "I did, for a moment," she admitted. "When I realized you were there and didn't stop her. But then I saw what you did after. Most people disappear after mistakes. You stayed. That matters more." They sat in silence for a while, watching Liam chase butterflies. Rachel turned to him. "You ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't spoken up?" "All the time," Marcus said. "It keeps me awake sometimes. Not the crash, the silence." She nodded. "Silence can destroy more than noise ever will." He looked at her gently. "What now, Rachel? What do you want next?" Rachel smiled. "I want to go back to school. Maybe become a nurse. I've spent years cleaning hospitals. Maybe now I'll help heal people in them." "You'd be amazing." "I also want to buy Liam a proper bed. One with space for all his silly stuffed animals." Marcus chuckled. "I know a guy who can help with that." They laughed together, not out of amusement, but out of relief. Out of survival. 3 weeks later, the courthouse reconvened. Emily Bradford appeared for sentencing, flanked by her legal team. Her father, Daniel Bradford, was not present. Judge Harper entered and delivered the ruling. Given the nature of the crimes and the absence of prior criminal record, the court sentences the defendant to 3 years of prison time, with eligibility for parole after 18 months. The defendant will also be required to complete 1,000 hours of community service, undergo substance rehabilitation, and contribute $2 million to the newly established Lighthouse Fund as restitution. Gasps echoed. Emily blinked in disbelief. But there were no cameras, no applause, just a heavy silence. Her cuffs clicked shut once more. Outside, Rachel and Marcus stood together, watching from a distance. "It's done," Marcus said. Rachel shook her head. "No, it's just beginning." 6 months passed. The Lighthouse Project had grown, now with 3 locations across California. Rachel had begun nursing classes. Liam had started 3rd grade at a better school, with a scholarship provided by anonymous donors. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Marcus picked them up from school. Liam jumped into the back seat. "Guess what? I got a gold star in reading." Marcus grinned. "That's 2 more than I ever got." Rachel leaned forward. "And I aced my anatomy quiz." Marcus mock gasped. "You two are putting me to shame." She laughed. "You're doing just fine, Mr. Director of Lighthouse." They drove into the dusk, windows down, wind tugging gently at their sleeves. At a red light, Rachel looked at Marcus. You know, I never really asked. Why'd you come back? Why didn't you just disappear like everyone else would have? He paused. Because I was tired of being invisible. And because for the first time in my life, someone was worth standing up for. Rachel looked out the window, blinking back a tear. And you were worth saving, he added softly. The light turned green. The road ahead was long, but for once it was clear. And in the rearview mirror, the past faded behind them, quieter with each passing mile.